So I came out here really early this morning and just watched some nature out on the deck, and I saw 16 deer, I saw a turkey, and I saw a coyote chasing some geese. So that was pretty cool. The deer stuck around for a long time. There were like probably 2 or 3 different sets of them that came through. One had 10, and I think there were 5 males and 4 females in that group. And then there were a couple other groups of just females wandering around. They've planted beans out in the fields around here, and so I think the deer are really liking eating those. And there's a whole pack of coyotes that live out in the woods over there. So it's one of those that I saw. And then there are a couple turkeys who we've seen around here for the past few years as well. So it's probably the same turkeys. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. So today we are going to sand this down and apply another coat of epoxy. So you can see what happens is that the epoxy doesn't evenly apply. Basically, some of the wood soaks it up, like right around in here, it's all soaked up. And then there are other areas where the epoxy is high. And I can even feel this, the blush that I was talking about, the wax. You can really tell that it's on there right now. So we're going to sand it down, both to get that wax off and also to get the epoxy smoothed down so that we can put another layer on, and hopefully that'll give it enough to be even, and maybe we'll even fiberglass this piece of wood today. So the first thing that I'll do is de-wax this with some Xylol, and that way when we actually do sand, it's not gunking up the sandpaper. I don't know if you can see that yellow, that's the wax. Vacuum set up here. All these little holes suck all the debris down into the vacuum. But what I'm noticing is that since there's some high spots on here, it's actually kicking off a little bit of epoxy dust. So what I'm going to do is put my face mask on with these cartridges that help with dust, and that way I'm not breathing in this epoxy, because epoxy in its liquid form is not going to hurt you very much. It's not super toxic. There's nothing that you need to worry about breathing in. But once it's cured, that dust, fiberglass dust and epoxy dust, and it's just no good for you. So you want to be careful there. got everything sanded down and wiped off with Xylol. And so now we're sure that there's no more wax on here, and that way we can put another layer of epoxy down. And this second layer of epoxy will fill in any voids. It'll soak up into those areas of the wood that really, want to soak it up, and that way there won't be the highs and low spots, and we'll get an even application of the epoxy, and then hopefully we'll be able to fiberglass over that. Alright, so now we're going to mix up some epoxy and go ahead and put the first layer down. Not as much of it is going to soak up into the wood, so we're not going to mix up as much. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see if that's enough. Got a new box of brushes. I'm going to mix this up really well. Outside while I'm up there sanding the foredeck, and it is fully cured, and you can see that it's much more uniform. The epoxy is kind of laid out flat, so this will be definitely good enough to sand down again, clean up with some Xylol, and then actually put some fiberglass down on here. But we need to do this side first, so we're going to go ahead and put a layer of epoxy down on here, and then we'll let that cure as well. Now we'll just let this sit here and cure, and I'm going to get back up on the foredeck and keep sanding.